Hi, I'm Mara Linsky-Deegan, and I am the Associate Curator and Registrar here at the Charles H. MacNider Art Museum in Mason City, Iowa. And today we're going to talk about Marvin Cohn, and we're going to talk a little bit about this piece right here, which is called The Watcher. But first I want to give you a little bit of information about Marvin Cohn. He was born in Cedar Rapids, Iowa in 1891. And he actually lived his whole life in Cedar Rapids on and off, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But one of the big things that happened to him is that in 1906, he met another artist from Iowa named Grant Wood. And a lot of people are pretty familiar with Grant Wood because he has done several famous paintings, including the one called American Gothic, which is a man and a woman standing in front of a house, and the man's holding a pitchfork. A lot of people have seen that one. And that was one of the great influences on Marvin Cohn's life as an artist. But before we get to how they work together, we're going to talk a little bit about his life. So in 1914, he graduated from Coe College in the Cedar Rapids area, and he decided that he would really like to be an artist, but then also decided, I like French, and I speak French pretty good, so I might need to do something with that as well. But from that time when he graduated, he decided he would like to further his art studies. So he decided to go to the school at the Art Institute of Chicago, and he went there right after graduating from Coe College, and he was attending there when in 1917 he decided to stop his studies in Chicago and actually went to France to be part of the war effort in World War I, and he was actually an interpreter, which is kind of cool. And then in 1919, he decided to stay on after the war and actually went to the École des Beaux-Arts, which is in France, and that's a school for art there. So after studying in France, he decided that he did want to come back to the United States and settle back down in Cedar Rapids. So he came back and was deciding, oh, I don't know what I want to do with my art degree. I might decide to, do some stuff for periodicals, which are a fancy word to say magazines, maybe do some commercial art. And he was kind of weighing whether he should do that or not, and then decided, no, I think I really want to be a college professor. So he actually got a job at the university, or the college that he went to, Coe College, and he actually taught French. Originally, and then later on he went on to teach art at Coe College as well. So like I said, he was friends with Grant Wood, and the two of them decided that they really liked to paint and draw pictures of the Midwest. And so Marvin Cohn, along with Grant Wood, were part of a group of artists called Regionalists. And what the Regionalists would do, like I said, would be paint and draw and even make sculptures about the Midwest, and kind of focusing on how great the Midwest was. And a lot of their pieces had to do with that. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And the other thing that was kind of interesting is that he was involved, Marvin Cohn, with a local art group that later decided to form a museum and is now the Cedar Rapids Museum of Art. So like I said, Marvin Cohn was considered part of the Regionalist group of painters and artists. And a lot of them were from the Midwest, just the way Marvin was. And a lot of them were really focused on showing Midwest landscapes. Now Marvin Cohn did paint a lot of landscapes. He also painted portraits sometimes. He did what I call interior landscapes, which are showing the inside of maybe a home or a room. He did a lot of those, but interestingly, unlike some of the ones that he would do outside, and people like Grant Wood and Thomas Hart Benton would do this too, they put a lot of people in there, maybe a farmer or somebody riding a horse or pulling a tractor or something like that. In his interior landscapes, Marvin Cohn a lot of times would not put too many figures. In fact, people, when they see this piece right here called The Watcher, they think, oh, there's a figure in it. But if you actually look, there's a painting in it which has a figure, but there is not an actual figure in the rest of the work, which I think is kind of interesting. So when you look at this piece, it almost looks kind of lonely, even though there is somebody in there watching you. And I think partly because the person watching you is in a painting. The pieces that he did that were interiors look very similar to this. He did paintings and drawings, and a lot of times you'll see maybe some stairs and then an open door, but you don't know what's behind there. And then a lot of times, like I said, there'll be open doors. And I always try to think, what do I think would be behind that open door, or what do I think would be behind this door right here, behind this wall? So it's something that I kind of just think, what do I think is back there? So while Marvin Cohn did travel throughout his life, he traveled in Europe and also in Mexico, he, like I said, was based in Cedar Rapids. And he got married, raised his family, and then worked in Cedar Rapids for most of his life. He passed away in 1965, and he wasn't as well known as some of his other contemporary artists like Grant Wood or Thomas Hart Benton, but a lot of them, especially after he died, some of them would say, oh, you know what, he was kind of influential, which means he inspired them and got them excited about what they were doing. Which is kind of cool. And the other cool thing about him, we have one piece in our collection, but the Cedar Rapids Museum of Art has quite a few in their collection. So if you get permission to go online, you can go to the Cedar Rapids Museum of Art, which is crma.org, and if you go there, you can actually look up Marvin Cohn and actually see all kinds of other pieces, including ones that look very similar to this one. So when you're looking at this one, kind of remember what it looks like. If you go to their website, you can see if you can see maybe some drawings or some paintings that look